The grand hall of the Voltorian embassy hummed with the sophisticated chatter of galactic diplomacy. Ambassador Lyra Veyron held court at the center of the crystalline chamber, her navy blue skin shimmering under the ambient light, blonde hair cascading over her shoulders in carefully arranged waves that spoke of hours with stylists. She was third in line to the Voltorian throne, chief negotiator for the Outer Rim Accords, and if the whispers were accurate, the most brilliant political mind her generation had produced. She was also, at this precise moment, laughing at Daniel Reeves. "Oh, how delightful!" Her voice carried across the room, melodious and cutting. "Earth sends us what did you call yourself? A cultural attaché." She turned to her entourage, a collection of Voltorian nobles and allied dignitaries who orbited her influence like moons around a gas giant. "They've sent us a librarian to negotiate military access through the Sol system." Polite laughter rippled through the group. Daniel stood at the periphery, hands clasped behind his back, expression neutral. He was unremarkable by most standards. Average height for a human, brown hair kept military short despite his civilian posting, gray eyes that most people forgot the moment they looked away. His suit was off the rack, his credentials modest, his title deliberately vague. Harmless. That's what they'd all decided within 5 minutes of his arrival. "Ambassador Veyron," Daniel said quietly, his voice barely carrying over the ambient noise, "perhaps we could discuss the proposed treaty terms in a more private setting." Lyra's smile was indulgent, the expression one might give a child asking to sit at the adult's table. "Mr. Reeves, I'm certain whatever you have to say can be said here among friends and allies. We have no secrets in diplomatic circles." She gestured expansively. "Please enlighten us. What does Earth's cultural attaché have to contribute to discussions of military transit rights?" Several dignitaries exchanged amused glances. Lord Corvan of the Threshen Collective actually smirked, his scaled features twisting into something approximating human derision. "Very well," Daniel said. He reached into his jacket. Several hands moved toward concealed weapons before relaxing when he produced only a data tablet. "Then let's discuss why you're really here, Ambassador." Lyra's expression flickered just for a microsecond with something that might have been concern. Then the diplomatic mask returned. "I'm here to negotiate in good faith, as I've stated repeatedly." "You're here," Daniel said, his voice still quiet but somehow carrying more weight now, "because the Voltorian Empire is bankrupt." The room went utterly silent. "Excuse me?" Lyra's voice had lost its amused lilt. "Bankrupt," Daniel repeated. "Well, technically insolvent within the next 8 months unless you secure significant resource infusions. Your war with the Kardashev Dominion lasted 16 years and cost you 43% of your GDP. Your reconstruction efforts have been funded entirely by high-interest loans from the Mercantile Guild, loans that come due." He glanced at his tablet. "In 247 days. The color drained from Lyra's face, her navy skin fading to a sickly gray blue. "The Sol system," Daniel continued, "isn't strategically vital to your empire, but Earth's asteroid belts contain approximately 40 trillion credits worth of platinum group metals. Our Kuiper belt has rare Earth elements you desperately need for your quantum drives, and our cooperation would give you political capital with the Neutral Worlds Coalition, which you need to renegotiate your guild loans." "How dare you?" Lord Corvan began. I'm not finished. Daniel's voice didn't rise, but something in it made the Threshen noble shut his mouth. You've spent 3 months in negotiations with Earth's official diplomatic corps, deliberately stalling, making impossible demands, waiting for us to get desperate enough to give you everything for nothing. You've been betting that humanity's eagerness for galactic acceptance would make us easy prey. He looked directly at Lyra now, and his gray eyes were no longer forgettable. They were cold, analytical, and utterly uncompromising. You laughed at my title, called me a librarian. You're not entirely wrong. I do work with information, but my official title, the one that's not on my public credentials, is Director of Intelligence Analysis for Earth's Defense Coordination Council. I've spent the last 3 months pulling apart your empire's finances, trade relationships, political alliances, and military capabilities. Would you like to know what else I've learned? The silence in the room had become oppressive. Several dignitaries had gone very still, the way prey animals freeze when they realize the predator has spotted them. Lyra's diplomatic composure was cracking. Mr. Reeves, if this is some attempt to, your younger sister, Princess Sayara, is building a coalition to challenge your position as heir, Daniel said. She's been meeting secretly with Fleet Admiral Torvin, who controls 60% of your remaining military assets. Your mother, the Empress, is dying, not of natural causes as publicly stated, but of Zythurian poison, which has no cure but takes 18 months to kill. Someone in your court is assassinating her slowly. Lyra actually staggered backward. Around the room, conversations erupted in hushed, frantic whispers. The Kardashev Dominion didn't sue for peace because you defeated them, Daniel continued relentlessly. They withdrew because the Mercantile Guild ordered them to. The guild owns both of you now, and they're playing you against each other to drive up their profits. Your great diplomatic victory was a leash ambassador, and you didn't even notice it being slipped around your neck. Stop, Lyra whispered. You want military access through Saul, Daniel said. Not for trade routes, for positioning. You're planning a preemptive strike against the Kardashev homeworld. You think if you can eliminate them entirely, you'll eliminate your debt to the guild. Because the loans were predicated on ongoing conflict requiring ongoing armament purchases. No enemy, no need for weapons, no debt enforcement. He took a step forward. Every eye in the room tracked the movement. But you can't launch that strike without using Saul as a staging ground. And you thought Earth, naive, eager to please, desperate for acceptance, Earth would just give you permission if you dressed it up in enough diplomatic language and made it sound like we'd be doing you a favor. Lyra's hands were shaking. You're making assumptions, unfounded accusations. Am I? Daniel pulled up a holoscreen from his tablet. These are encrypted communications I intercepted between your flagship and Voltorian High Command. These are financial records showing shell companies funneling resources to forward operating bases along the Kardashev border. These are psychological profiles of your strike fleet commanders, all specialists in first strike warfare. And this, the holoscreen changed, is a battle plan, your battle plan. Operation Crimson Dawn, total elimination of Kardashev military and civilian infrastructure in a coordinated assault planned for launch in 4 months. The room erupted. Dignitaries from neutral worlds began backing toward exits. Lord Corvan was shouting something in his native language. 3 Voltorian guards moved to intercept Daniel, but Lyra held up a hand, stopping them. "How?" she asked, her voice barely audible. "Our encryption is military grade, our security absolute. How did you?" "Because you laughed at the librarian," Daniel said, and now there was an edge to his voice like shattered glass. "You all did. Every single one of you walked past me, ignored me, had confidential conversations within earshot because I was harmless, forgettable, beneath notice." He gestured around the room. "For 3 months, I've been at every reception, every gala, every informal gathering. I've served drinks, I've cleared plates, I've stood in corners with my little tablet making notes everyone assumed were cultural observations. And you know what I was really doing?" Silence. "Recording every single word." Daniel's voice had gone dangerously soft. "Every careless conversation about troop movements, every drunken boast about political maneuvering, every secret meeting held in rooms you thought were secure but never bothered to sweep for surveillance because who would suspect the human cultural attaché?" He pulled up another screen. "This is Lord Corvan discussing bribery of neutral world delegates. This is Ambassador T. Kresh from the Serpentine Enclave planning to sell military secrets to 3 different buyers. This is Commander Yalth admitting to war crimes during the Outer Rim campaigns. Should I continue?" "You're bluffing," Lord Corvan snarled, but his voice wavered. "You can't possibly." Daniel played an audio clip. Corvan's own voice filled the room, dripping with contempt as he described which human cities would be acceptable losses if Earth refused to cooperate with Voltorian demands. The Threscian noble's face went pale beneath his scales. "I'm not bluffing," Daniel said. "I'm not posturing, I'm not negotiating, I'm telling you exactly how things stand. Earth knows everything. We know about your financial collapse. We know about your planned genocide. We know about every dirty secret, every political scheme, every compromise and corruption in this entire diplomatic corps." He looked around the room, meeting eyes that quickly looked away. "And here's what's going to happen now. Ambassador Veyron, you're going to return to Voltoria and tell your Empress the truth about your situation. You're going to come back to Earth in 30 days with a real offer, fair trade agreements, genuine alliance terms, transparent dealings. No hidden clauses, no secret military bases, no attempts to use us as pawns in your war games. Or," Lyra's voice was hollow, "or I release everything," Daniel said simply. "Every recording, every financial document, every piece of dirty laundry from every civilization represented in this room. I'll send it to every news network, every political opposition group, every investigative body in known space. I'll burn down your reputation, your political career, and probably several governments in the process." "You wouldn't," someone breathed. "The chaos would be preferable to letting Earth be used as a launching pad for genocide," Daniel said flatly. "Yes, I would absolutely burn it all down." "Because here's what you never understood about humanity, Ambassador. We're not naive. We're not desperate for your approval. We're patient. We're thorough. And we don't forgive those who treat us as disposable." He turned to face Lyra directly. "You laughed at me. You called me harmless. You made the fatal mistake of underestimating the species that went from wooden ships to splitting atoms in less than 2 centuries. The species that united a fractured planet specifically to prepare for people like you." Lyra was shaking now, whether from rage or fear or both. "If you release those documents, you'll destroy interstellar diplomacy for a generation." "Then I suggest you give me a reason not to," Daniel said. Fair dealings, honest negotiations, mutual respect. That's all Earth ever wanted, but you couldn't even give us that. You saw a young species and thought victim. You thought resource to exploit. You thought harmless. He picked up his tablet, prepared to leave. You have 30 days, Ambassador. Come back with a real offer or I start releasing files. And trust me, I've organized them for maximum political damage. I'll start with the most explosive revelations and work my way through every civilization represented here. By the time I'm done, the entire diplomatic corps will be in shambles. This is blackmail, Lord Corvan spat. Yes, Daniel agreed calmly. It is. Welcome to dealing with humanity when we stop being polite. You wanted to play games with Earth's future. Fine. But you're playing by our rules now. He walked toward the exit. The crowd parted before him like water, everyone suddenly very aware that the harmless little man had teeth after all. At the doorway, he paused and looked back at Lyra. For what it's worth, Ambassador, I actually researched your accomplishments before coming here. You brokered the peace of 7 suns. You negotiated the Corward trade agreements. You've done genuine good in the galaxy. That's why I'm giving you this chance instead of just releasing everything immediately. Lyra looked up, hope flickering in her eyes. But understand this, Daniel continued, and his voice carried absolute conviction. I will not let Earth become collateral damage in your political survival. I will not let humanity be used as a weapon in your war. And I will not tolerate being laughed at by people who couldn't find Earth on a star map 6 months ago. You want access to Sol? Earn it. With respect, with honesty, with genuine partnership. He turned to leave, then paused once more. Oh, and Ambassador, you might want to have your food tasters check your sister's kitchen staff. 3 of them are on the Mercantile Guild's payroll. I'd hate for you to suffer the same fate as your mother. The color that had returned to Lyra's face drained away again. Daniel nodded politely to the stunned room. 30 days, ladies and gentlemen. I look forward to more productive discussions. Until then, he smiled, and it was not a pleasant expression. Enjoy your evening. The door closed behind him with a soft click that sounded impossibly loud in the absolute silence. For a long moment, nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Then Lyra Veyron, third in line to the Voltorian throne, chief negotiator for the Outer Rim Accords, and the woman who had laughed at a harmless human librarian, sank into the nearest chair. Get me secure communications to the Empress, she said quietly. And someone find out everything, and I mean everything, about Daniel Reeves. His real background, his actual position, everything we should have learned before we decided he was beneath our notice. What are we going to do? Lord Corvan asked, his earlier bluster completely evaporated. Lyra was quiet for a moment, staring at the door through which Daniel had exited. We're going to do exactly what he said. We're going to go back. We're going to come up with fair terms. And we're going to treat Earth like the dangerous, intelligent, thoroughly prepared civilization it apparently is. That's surrender, someone protested. No, Lyra said softly. That's survival. We underestimated them. We treated them as insignificant. We learned the oldest lesson in politics the hard way. She looked around at her fellow diplomats, all of them still processing what had just happened. Never dismiss someone because they seem harmless, she said. Because sometimes the most dangerous person in the room is the one nobody's watching. Outside, walking through the gardens of the Voltorian embassy, Daniel Reeves pulled out his personal communicator. Phase 1 complete, he said quietly. They're terrified, off balance, and ready to negotiate in good faith. Proceed with Phase 2. Nicely done, Director Chen's voice came through, though you may have enjoyed that a bit too much. Maybe, Daniel admitted. But someone had to teach them that humanity doesn't roll over just because we're new to the galactic stage. Think it'll work? Daniel looked up at the alien stars, so different from Earth's familiar constellations. It'll work. They're not stupid, just arrogant. Now that they know we have teeth, they'll be very careful not to give us a reason to bite. And if they don't come back in 30 days with a real offer, then we release the files and watch their political establishment implode, Daniel said simply. Either way, Earth wins. They treat us with respect, or they're too busy with their own chaos to bother us. I'm fine with either outcome. He ended the call and smiled into the alien night. Sometimes being underestimated was the greatest advantage of all. And Earth had just taught the galaxy a very important lesson. Laugh at humanity at your own risk. Because the harmless librarian was always watching, always listening, and always 3 steps ahead.